Every year, over £40 billion is stolen from the UK's public purse. But up and down Britain, an army of fraud fighters is battling to win it back.
Every pound lost to the public purse via fraud is a pound lost to our public services.
That money is for people that need it.
You just can't go about stealing money and hope to get away with it.
People that defraud the public purse are despicable.
From paying for the police and our health service, filling in potholes and emptying our dustbins, to making sure everyone has a roof over their head.
The team had to follow the money trail.
I'm just going to investigate the incident. Gross.
I suspect that it's not your badge.
I'm definitely sure that there's a fraud.
The investigators' mission has never been more vital.
We managed to recover over £108,000.
This prosecution was really important.
Can't the claimant being able to get his way out of this one?
No one is beyond our reach. If you get a knock on the door from us, you might be in trouble.
The fraud squad are on the case. Today, a pair of fraudsters go on a shopping spree with school money, stealing hundreds of thousands of pounds.
To think that two members of staff were so trusted and well respected is just unthinkable.
A disgruntled NHS employee turns travel agent using money meant for hospitals.
To take that money away is taking a nurse off a ward, effectively.
And a benefits cheat is caught out, trying to be best in show. Schools are supposed to give our kids the best start in life, a nurturing environment and positive role models. But in our next case, a head teacher sets the worst possible example, lying, cheating and stealing money that's meant to educate their pupils. This is the scandalous story of a school office conspiracy, an abuse of power, trust and responsibility.
A whole generation of children that went through the school did not get the full resources that they should have got because of the greed of these two people.
A web of deceit that defrauded an already struggling school of a colossal £500,000.
I'm Philip Tromans. I'm a counter-fraud investigator for Sandwell Council. We deal solely with the public purse. The prominent one that we've dealt with for a number of years has been tenancy fraud. We have internal cases, blue badge cases. These people are unscrupulous. They're just out for themselves.
But a case lands on Philip's desk, unlike anything he's dealt with before or since. It starts with a phone call from a bank.
The bank informed us that there's some suspicious activity with regards to one of our schools.
They've spotted a glut of transactions that just don't add up.
The store that the school has been purchasing items from is a boutique, upmarket clothing store.
The suspicious spending totals £4,809.
The first thing I do is I go on my computer and have a look at the website for the store that have made the report to the bank. And it's pretty evident from looking at the website that, yes, they sell women's clothing, a bit of men's clothing, handbags, shoes and sunglasses. I can't see any items on there that would be something that I'd expect a primary school to be buying.
The shop specialises in haute couture, not school supplies. And that's not all that's unusual.
One of the things that sticks out with these transactions is that the store in question that they've been made from is almost 60 miles away. So as a council, we normally try and buy from local companies, if at all possible.
Could someone be trying to cover their tracks by travelling out of town? Philip's team visits the school to speak to the head teacher.
The head teacher at the school is a woman called Michelle Hollingsworth. She has spent her whole school career since the mid-1980s at the school, and has been the head teacher for the past 10 years. She denies any real knowledge of what's going on and says that it might have been for a gift that was purchased for a member of staff that was leaving the school. At this point, we've got no other lines of inquiry, so the only thing I can do is get in my car and go to the shop.
But Philip's not on a shopping trip. He's hunting for evidence. Can the shop shed any light on the suspicious purchases?
We have to go and speak to the owners in person because we're going to need to get witness statements from them to use at a later date if the case goes to trial.
Almost immediately, he has a breakthrough. The shop owner not only remembers the head teacher, but says the school secretary, Debbie Jones, is a regular too.
Debbie will deal with the administrative side of the school, and Michelle has got the authorisation and holds the budget for the school.
The pair are known to work closely together and both have access to school funds. Philip's suspicions are growing.
It is strange for a head teacher and a secretary to share an office. It's more traditional that the head teacher has their own office so that they can conduct any meetings that they might want to in private.
The shop owner then volunteers more crucial information.
The store owner tells us that the two members of staff were referred to her from another store in the same street. We head straight over there and find that it's a high-end interior design shop with lots of beautiful furniture in there, sofas, lovely cupboards, tables, things like that. Again, things that we wouldn't expect to find in a primary school in a deprived area.
It turns out the pair were well known in the upmarket high street.
There was also a third store in the same street that they'd visited. It was a children's kind of boutique shop that sold clothes and books, games. On the face of it, it seems like it could be something that the school would go and make purchases from. But then upon speaking to the owner, it's quite obvious that the majority of things that have been brought is clothing, and seeing as the school is a uniform school, there doesn't seem to be much need for those purchases. At this point, I'm definitely sure that there's a fraud.
Information from the bank explains how the pair had tried to deviously disguise their shopping spree. They've used their insider knowledge of the school systems to try to avoid detection.
By paying by cheque, they were going to the store, putting on one side what they wanted to buy, going back to the school, raising an order, raising a cheque, sending the cheque had to clear, and then go back to the store to go and collect the items. Because, of course, they couldn't run the risk of them being delivered.
With the evidence mounting, it's time for action.
Michelle and Debbie are suspended from duty, and we go to the school. We need paperwork to be able to look at and analyse to see what's happened.
But when they get to the school, investigators have a shock in store.
All of the relevant paperwork with regards to the transactions has disappeared, along with the computer used by Debbie Jones.
Other staff describe an attempt to try to destroy incriminating evidence before investigators arrived.
They inform us that the electrics were tripped out because there was an attempt to pour water on the computer.
It's clear the pair know Philip is onto them. The loss of evidence is a blow to the investigation.
It means that the investigation has become a lot harder. With zero paperwork to go on, the only thing that we can do is get a copy of all of the suppliers that the school have got on their computer system and trawl through the internet to find out the nature of each of those businesses.
It doesn't take long for yet more dodgy transactions to surface.
Clothes stores, antique stores, building sites and reclamation yards, probably about 30 companies.
Philip visits each business and soon a pattern emerges.
They're telling us the same story. Two people from a school coming in and wanting to buy items, but there's no actual physical evidence of those items being in the school.
The pair's lavish spending sprees are costing the school thousands. And they've made calculated and deliberate attempts to hide their thefts.
On the school's finance system, they would have recorded something that was very plausible, whereas in reality, what had been brought and what was recorded on the invoice was something of a far more personal nature, such as clothing, furniture, antiques.
While teachers are being forced to pay for basic supplies from their own pockets, the pair are splashing the school's cash like there's no tomorrow and forging the paperwork to cover their tracks.
They had brought a Georgian Beaufront corner cupboard and a pine dovecote.
A bargain at just £900.
On this piece of paper here, actually they wanted it recorded on the system as an outdoor storage cupboard and a wooden playhouse. They'd actually brought a mirror, quite an expensive one, £1,150. And yet they wanted that recorded on the system as wooden storage blocks. So from these documents, we can blatantly see that they're trying to cover their tracks.
Later, Philip discovers the pair's shopping trips are just the tip of the iceberg as the full extent of the theft is discovered.
We can see that all of the monies paid to this company are actually paid into the bank account of Debbie Jones.
The NHS has cared for the nation for over 70 years, and yet this beloved institution is defrauded of over £1 billion every year. What's even worse is that sometimes that fraud is committed by insiders who should know better.
At some points, he seemed to be shocked at how much NHS funds he'd used. The suspect set himself up as a kind of a travel agent. I think the total value of the bookings was just over £30,000. To take that money away is taking a nurse off a ward, effectively. My name is Leslie Million and I'm an counter-fraud specialist for NHS of England and Improvement. We deal with any allegations or referrals of fraud within the NHS. GPs, pharmacists, dentists, opticians.
Just 2 days into her new job at the NHS, she lands a shocking case. A mystery fraudster is abusing the staff travel system, costing the health service thousands and diverting crucial resources from the NHS front line.
It's quite normal for teams to book travel, to go away for conferences or for training, but someone was concerned over a flight that had been booked on the travel booking system.
Staff take thousands of trains and planes every year, but one of the flights stands out like a sore thumb.
A booking was noticed that was for a flight to Dalaman in Turkey, which obviously wouldn't normally be expected to be a location for official NHS business.
Dalaman is a top tourist destination. Known for its turquoise sea and sandy beaches, there's not much scope for official NHS business. Yet someone is using NHS funds to book flights. Clearly, something doesn't add up.
First thing we wanted to do was make inquiries into the passengers and the bookers' details.
The flight from Leeds Bradford Airport to Dalaman, Turkey is for 2 female passengers.
When the female passenger details were checked, they couldn't be identified to be NHS employees.
But when they discover who made the bookings, the investigation takes a sinister turn.
The man who made the bookings was employed by NHS Improvement.
Until recently, he'd worked as an assistant project manager, but quit that job thinking he'd landed a promotion. But when the promotion fell through, he was left jobless, so it would seem he has an axe to grind. He's had unrestricted access to the system for months. The fraud could potentially be huge. After cutting off his access, an urgent investigation is launched. Leslie needs details of all his bookings on the system. When the results come back, she's in for a shock.
There were quite a number of bookings for quite a considerable amount. I think the total value of the bookings was just over £30,000.
It looks like the suspect's been able to book international flights and hotel stays undetected, costing the taxpayer thousands.
£6,000 on rail travel, just over £3,000 on flights, and then over £20,000 was spent on hotel bookings.
£30,000 has been stolen. That's money that's desperately needed for patient care, not to fund exotic holidays or city breaks.
There was quite a lot of hotels in London, and I think potentially it was just using them for himself as somewhere to stay. But there are a lot of bookings made for other people as well.
Although the account login was registered to the former NHS staffer, there's no proof he made the bookings. Leslie needs to dig deeper.
The hotel bookings were made in numerous different names. Some of them were in the suspect's first two names, which were believed to be with her, for him. Some of them appeared to be fictitious names. Our personal favourite is Fat Jeff.
The list of names, Fat Jeff included, might hold a clue to proving who made the illicit bookings.
The other names were names like Aston Mart and Rico Dart.
The nicknames might be light-hearted, but this is no laughing matter. With bed shortages and waiting times spiralling, every penny lost hits the NHS where it hurts. Leslie needs to prove her suspect is the one responsible. She turns to social media to track down the people listed on the bookings.
I managed to find links to about 4 or 5 people on Facebook with quite unusual names, which obviously then shows that connection between the suspect and the bookings.
Then she has another breakthrough. The suspect's HR documents are still on file.
As part of his identification documentation, there was a bank statement within there from his bank account, and I can see a transfer from one of the names that a booking is being made in to my suspect's bank account.
This proves beyond doubt that her suspect and the people named on the bookings are connected. He's not only booking travel and accommodation for himself, but for his friends too.
The suspect appears to have essentially set himself up as a kind of a travel agent.
The HR files also hold a clue as to how the fraudster could be committing the crime.
When this employee left NHS Improvement, they failed to return their laptop and work mobile phone. HR had contacted him to let him know that if he failed to return the equipment, that they had no alternative other than to take legal action.
But his response throws the cat amongst the pigeons.
He said the equipment had been stolen in a robbery. That could have meant potentially that someone else could have stolen that equipment and might have been able to use it to make the bookings themselves.
The revelation throws Leslie's case into jeopardy. Could the alibi get her suspect off the hook? Later, will the suspect's greed finally catch up with him?
Good morning. I've just tried to make a booking.
You restricted at £135, sir, so I can't put that booking through.
Let's not worry about it. I'll try to find something else in that area.
Dogs might be a man's best friend, but in our next case, they turn out to be the fraudster's worst enemy when a benefits cheat is caught lining her own pockets with public money.
This particular lady was not as disabled as she claimed to be. She was breeding rough collies and showing them all around the country, including Crufts. I was always brought up to believe that people should be as honest as they possibly can, both with themselves and with other people. Obviously, benefit fraud is something that is dishonest. The benefit system is a very vital piece of machinery that's there to support those who need it, but it's not there to be abused.
Catching fraudsters is all in a day's work for Adrian Brewer from the Department for Work and Pensions.
Every day is different, every case is different. Cases can be quite complex, some cases can be quite simple.
During his 40-year career, Adrian's seen it all. At least he thinks he has, until he gets a tip-off from a member of the public.
The hotline's been going for an awful long time, and it is probably one of the main sources of referrals. A referral came in which stated that this particular lady was not as disabled as she claimed to be, and that she was breeding dogs and she was showing them at various dog shows around the country.
Adrian checks the suspect's benefits claim history.
We looked at the claim forms and established that she claimed that she needed to use 2 crutches at all times. She needed help getting in and out of bed, dressing, washing, even as much as feeding herself were problems for her, and she required help with those. The particular benefits that were being claimed at this time were employment and support allowance and disability living allowance. She declared that she had diabetes, multiple sclerosis, lymphedema, hearing impairments, and high blood pressure.
Someone who, on paper at least, needs all the support she can get.
She was receiving £559 every 4 weeks.
She's been claiming employment and support allowance for 2 years, and the highest level of disability support for 8 years. Adrian needs to verify if these claims are genuine or not.
The next stage is for us to try and establish what the true position is. We then basically obtain all the case papers that are available. So we have copies of any claim forms, copies of any doctor's reports, and then we arrange for further checks, possibly via our intelligence units, to obtain perhaps financial details or social media details.
The suspect's social media suggests the anonymous tip-off was right.
We established that this particular lady had been showing her dogs at certain shows. She was well known in the dog community. She was breeding rough collies and showing them literally all around the country, everywhere from locally Exeter up to and including Crufts. She had a number of dogs, and she'd even imported some from abroad for breeding.
It's certainly suspicious, but Adrian needs proof that her claims of crippling ill health are bogus. So he hatches a plan. He knows the highlight of Devon's dog show calendar is fast approaching. Any show dog owner worth their salt will be there. And so will Adrian, with an undercover surveillance team.
The advantages of surveillance at a venue like that is that cameras are quite common. People take photographs of dogs at the show, and it's very easy to blend in with the crowd.
The operation involves a whole team of officers spread across the city. The suspect is followed as she leaves home.
Our team is in contact using radios. We arranged for a couple of officers to already be in situ, so that if we lost her at all on the journey up, and hopefully they would pick her up immediately we got there.
Officers follow the suspect to the showground, where despite her claims of ill health, she immediately gets to work. She's clearly seen walking unaided, and lifting, even carrying.
They initially started filming her setting up a gazebo at the showground. to protect the dogs from the sun during the day, whilst they weren't actually in the show ring. This did provide a little bit of amusement as her granddaughter broke it, and it ended up being half the height, which resulted in, throughout the day, her having to bend down quite severely to get under the gazebo to actually reach the dogs.
The suspect's health issues have seemingly disappeared. How could she stoop so low? She claims to need 2 crutches to walk and struggles with day-to-day living. But the only thing she appears to be dogged by are dodgy benefit claims. She can run, but she can't hide. Just one day of surveillance gives the team all the evidence they need. The suspect's benefits are stopped, but not before she'd managed to claim thousands of pounds.
The amount overpaid was £12,538.40.
She's invited into the DWP for interview under caution.
When she attended for the interviews with us, she came in with a walking stick.
And to add insult to supposed injury, her solicitor says she isn't fit enough to be interviewed. Another interview's arranged, but she doesn't show up. But Adrian is like a dog with a bone. A third interview is scheduled.
She came in for the interview, again, this time a different solicitor from the first time, and proceeded throughout the interview to go no comment.
Despite her stonewalling, the evidence is put to the suspect.
The evidence clearly showed that the benefit was probably incorrect.
The suspect doesn't offer any explanation, but the evidence is overwhelming.
Case then goes from ourselves to the Crown Prosecution Service, who prosecute on our behalf. She was charged with obtaining benefits dishonestly by failing to report her true circumstances.
The suspect appears at Plymouth Crown Court.
She pleaded guilty to all the offences. She was sentenced to 12 months community order, 20 reparation days, and 100 hours unpaid work.
And that's not all.
An order was made in the court for Profits from Crime Act, and she was ordered to repay all the outstanding money to the department within 6 months, or to face a prison sentence.
But the cost to the public purse goes beyond the benefit fraud.
Investigation of benefit fraud costs a lot of money. There's a lot of resources go into it. It is a substantial amount of money that could be used for other purposes. If this case hadn't been investigated at the time it is my belief that that claim would still be running to this current day.
For Adrian and the team, it's a job well done.
I'm very proud of the job I do. It gives me great satisfaction and a sense of personal achievement in playing my part in society.
A school head teacher and her secretary accomplice have been caught splurging school money on lavish spending trips. But fraud investigators are about to discover the pair's theft goes much, much further.
They had brought a Georgian Beaufront corner cupboard. Actually, they wanted it recorded on the system as an outdoor storage cupboard.
Head teacher Michelle Hollingsworth and school secretary Debbie Jones are ordered to appear before council officials.
We interviewed Debbie first and we asked her to explain what's going on, and she doesn't really give us any information, just trying to distance herself and saying that we'll have to ask Michelle what's gone on.
But when Michelle is interviewed, the head teacher plays the fool.
It's really frustrating. Michelle made out that she was completely IT illiterate, did not know how to use a computer at all.
But Philip's not falling for it.
It seemed logical that the only person that could be the mastermind of this was Michelle, because
You can't really imagine a situation whereby Debbie, as the school secretary, was going to go to the head teacher and say, I've got a great idea of how we could defraud the school.
With his suspects failing to provide any new information, Philip doubles down on the school's finances. Hidden within the cost reports, he spots an anomaly.
One of the companies that the school used was a family relation. Another personal contact of Michelle has been used to provide building work for the school.
It's suspicious, but not illegal. Philip contacts the company involved.
The person who we're speaking to is very vague, tries to distance themselves from those transactions enough that we feel that it's necessary to interview them as well.
During interview, they make no comment, but they do come with a pre-prepared statement.
It doesn't admit fraud, but they do say that they will repay any monies that have been paid to the business that we feel shouldn't have.
Why would a company volunteer to repay money unless something shady is going on? A quantity surveyor visits the school to check the building work the school's paid for has actually taken place.
They go around the school to check that what the school have recorded that they've received has actually been done. They find that in the majority of cases, the work that's been paid for either hasn't been done, or if it has been done, it's been grossly overcharged for. The investigation also uncovers payments to a window company, but there are invoices in place to show that the windows have been replaced numerous times, maybe 3, even 4 times according to the invoice system, and this obviously hasn't happened. We can see that all of the monies paid to this company are actually paid into the bank account of Debbie Jones. Was over £74,000.
The school is paying through the nose for building work that sometimes hasn't even been carried out. And most of the money is flowing straight into the fraudster's personal bank accounts. The scam even extends to putting friends on the school's payroll. The head teacher is employing a personal friend as the school's sports coach and is paying him handsomely.
We've got every reason to believe that this person has been overpaid for the work that they've done.
18 months into the investigation, and the total tally of the fraudster's thefts has skyrocketed.
Now we're dealing with over 30 shops and businesses, and we're looking at a figure in excess of £500,000.
But when the head is called in for questioning a second time, there's a surprising turn of events.
2 days before that interview takes place, she attends the council house to return items that she's got stored at her home that have been purchased by the school.
Clearly feeling the pressure, she voluntarily returns a treasure trove of goods, all bought with school money.
This is one of the oil paintings that was returned to us by Michelle Hollingsworth. She told us at interview she was just storing it at her house for safekeeping.
Cost £900.
This one is another one of the paintings. This one's actually more expensive than the other one. It is £1,100. This is an antique clock, valued at £950.
She claims to have bought the antiques so the children would have something nice to look at, and was only storing them at home temporarily. All the while telling staff and parents the school coffers were empty. And now we know why.
we now have enough information to be able to pull together the evidence to be able to prepare a case to go to court.
A trial date is set. Due to the enormity of the case, it's earmarked to last up to 12 weeks.
During the trial, Debbie admitted receiving the items, but didn't really give us any further information. Michelle maintained throughout the whole court case that everything that she had purchased for the school was legitimate, was for use by the school, that the children benefited from it, and that if anything had been purchased that shouldn't have, it was Debbie's fault.
After 14 weeks of finger-pointing, wasting yet more taxpayers' money, justice is served.
So Michelle Hollingsworth was found guilty on all counts and was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison. And Debbie Jones was also found guilty on all counts brought against her, and she was sent to prison for 4 years and 9 months. It was so satisfying to bring this case to a close and get the result that we did. And it's just really refreshing to know that we're not going to let people get away with this. And if you do commit a crime, we are going to do whatever we can to make sure that you're prosecuted.
But the effects of the pair's fraud doesn't end at the school gates.
The school that they worked at is in quite a deprived area of our borough. This fraud unfolded over 6 years, so that means that during that 6 years, a whole generation of children that went through the school did not get the full resources that they should have got because of the greed of these two people.
In London, NHS investigator Leslie Millian is closing in on a disgruntled former employee who's abusing an NHS system to book lavish holidays for himself and his friends. But these aren't budget breaks. We're talking £30,000 worth of luxury travel.
The suspect appears to have essentially set himself up as a kind of a travel agent.
Unlike the suspect, his claim that someone else was behind the bookings just doesn't fly. Meanwhile, Leslie continues to gather evidence. Her next call is to the hotels.
Inquiries were sent to a number of hotels that bookings had been made up to see whether there was any connection between the suspect and the bookings.
And this is where the suspect makes a crucial mistake.
One of the hotels that was contacted found that on check-in, the suspect had provided his personal email address in connection with a hotel reward scheme.
Anxious not to lose his loyalty points, the fraudster's unwittingly tied himself to the bookings.
The fact that he gave his personal email address for a hotel reward scheme, it connected all the bookings back to him.
Leslie has everything she needs. She calls in police backup and goes to arrest the fraudster.
We're with the police, but unfortunately, when we get to the address, it's Mum's address, and the suspect hasn't lived there for quite some time.
Horrified, the suspect's mum doesn't hesitate to dob in her son.
Mum provides a current up-to-date mobile number for the suspect.
When they catch up with him, he's not happy he's got his mum to answer to.
The suspect was quite annoyed that police had been to his mother's address. You know, he didn't want his mum to be upset. At one point, he said to the police, "I want you to phone up my mum and apologise to my mum, otherwise I'm not being interviewed."
The police politely explain that's not how it works, and he's interviewed under caution.
The suspect just chose to no comment to everything. It's just quite frustrating, really.
But when Leslie presents her evidence, he's visibly shaken.
At some points, he seemed to be shocked, actually, himself at the total amount of bookings that had been made, and then hadn't realised quite how much of NHS funds he'd used.
But he's in for an even bigger shock. Leslie has an ace up her sleeve. she's obtained recordings that clearly identify him as the one making fraudulent bookings with NHS money.
Hi, I've made a booking.
Okay, no problem. And what's the reason for travel?
So there's an event, an operational activity.
In Exhibit B, the brazen fraudster pushes his luck even further, maxing out the price cap on NHS bookings.
Good morning. I've just tried to make a booking.
You restricted at £135, so I can't put that booking through.
Let's not worry about it. I'll try and find something else in that area.
Facing indisputable evidence, the writing's on the wall for the fraudster.
He really didn't enjoy the calls being played, and at that point held his head in his hands.
The case goes to court.
The first hearing is at Thames Magistrate Court, and he pleads guilty at the first hearing.
Despite his earlier denials, facing overwhelming evidence, he confesses and is sentenced.
14 months suspended for 18 months for the fraud, and is sentenced to 3 months for the theft, but again suspended for 18 months. He's then sentenced to 15 rehabilitation days and 200 hours unpaid work.
It's a great result for Leslie and the NHS.
It was very satisfying to get a successful prosecution out of this, and it will act as a good deterrent to anybody else who might consider to defraud the NHS out of money.
But when the crime is committed by somebody who knows the NHS's struggles firsthand, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
This is over £30,000 worth of NHS funds that is supposed to be used to provide vital care, cancer patients, people that need transplants, but to take that money away, I see that as taking a nurse off a ward, effectively.
To add insult to injury, not a penny of the fraudster's ill-gotten gains can be paid back.
Unfortunately, there wasn't any compensation awarded because the judge decided that the suspect didn't have the ability to repay.
The one positive from the case is a toughening of NHS procedures.
There have been some sort of additional measures introduced as a result of this investigation to try and make sure that it wouldn't happen again.
But the fraudster will have to live with the shame of his theft for years to come.
His future prospects for employment, having been convicted for offence of fraud and theft, probably really minimises your chances of getting a trustworthy job.